Okay. So allow me to start the session, which is module 2, which is basically resource planning. And I hope all of you received the handouts for the first module. So what do you think would be the various resources that would be required by a facilitator or a trainer, or let's say an internal team uh, for an effective training? What sort of resources would be required?
Sir, the training venue,
Okay.
the training material, maybe handouts or PPT material, whatever it is, and
Okay.
then how to deliver it, like whether it be an e-learning platform or a physical one. So these things can be considered as resources, sir.
Okay. Anything else other than this? Any others?
Sir,
Okay.
in addition to the training aids, what
Hmm.
kind of training aids shall be used and what about the training methods, including the materials, as Ravi has suggested?
Okay. Anything other than that?
The audio visuals,
Audio
means
visual.
whether they are working properly or how it is.
Okay.
Secondly, the presentation which you have prepared, that's according to the content.
Okay.
Furthermore, the notebooks and I can say writing pens for our audience,
Okay.
So
and
the
agenda.
Okay. Agenda. Okay.
technological support, sir.
Okay. Anything else besides that?
Sir,
I can say the first most is that the if the presenter is prepared with the presentation or how it is.
Okay. Wonderful. Anything else that would be required to effectively be required to conduct a training program? Any other resource besides that?
sir, if the trainer is new or maybe the facilitator is new, they can be taken through a TTT or train the trainer.
Okay. Okay. A couple of things that you mentioned in terms of training materials is definitely required to convey the message. So probably a pre-training material during the training as well as a post-training material would be required. Second is the training facility, as you rightly mentioned, to have a productive environment, whether it's going to be in-house, outbound, in a hotel, or in a premises that requires a certain kind of an interaction, or on the job, or the shop floor, so on and so forth. So it could vary. The equipments also that is put to use could be all equipments that you mentioned in terms of projectors and others, or also could be equipments that could be used during the training program for a person to understand, uh, comprehend a particular program or the subject area specifically better. Could be a role play, could be any form of a simulation equipment also, or a gaming equipment as well. Trainers. So trainers are also critical to be, shortlisted for any external trainer or an internal trainer to do the program. So definitely, as you mentioned, a TTT could be done for that. But effectively, resources would be anything that would be required to deliver the program effectively. So A of the fact, without having done a training need assessment and a training need analysis, you wouldn't have a program outline, or you would not know what kind of facilities you would require, or what kind of material needs to be provided, what kind of equipment needs to be used, and what kind of a trainer is required, depending also on the fact that the trainer has to facilitate probably a large audience, could be senior to junior to, let's say, even a GETs and others. So that has to be kept in mind. Now, developing a training material has several stages. So one of the key areas is a need assessment. So once you have done the need assessment, you have a discussion with all the people who are possibly at the stakeholder level, at the functional level, levels which are specifically, at possibly also at a supervisor level needs to be discussed. Once you have identified that gap, then you do on-the-job analysis as well, or a function analysis, and then you create an objective for the training program, which requires a sign-off, which is there from the senior management plus others who are involved in it, or the HR department. If it's an external trainer, then he comes in, he prepares an objective, or the objective is already given. So any which ways, the design has to go about, and then the development of the material. One is definitely the most important aspect, which is with regards to the content that is going to be projected in the form of the training aid, which would be put to use. Then are the training materials, which are support materials or reading materials that has to be taken into account. Would also include materials which include visual aids and others. Then for implementing, you have to deliver the training program, and formally then assessment that has to happen during the evaluation phase. So there could be a pre-assessment, there could be during the program assessment, as well as there could be an assessment at the end of the program as well, or an ongoing assessment if it's a long-term engagement program. Any one of you have a different perspective to developing training materials at different stages? Do you think that the 5 stages is good enough, or do we need to include something else? Because I've just included the physical training. In case if it's an online method, how would you do it? In case if it is an OBT followed by a classroom training, how would you prepare the material? Anyone?
Sir, for online virtual training
Virtual
material.
training. Absolutely. Let's say if you're going to develop an e-learning module, or let's say for
Right, sir.
that matter of fact, if you're going to develop a program which is going to be partly, self-paced learning, partly an experiential learning, partly a classroom learning, and then also for that matter of fact, an e-learning module. How would you develop a training material in that case? Anybody?
Sir, like for e-learning, let us say it can be divided into categories of new joiners. So we'll be having an induction, self-learning induction module.
Okay.
And then there can be stages where like learner maybe experienced, super experienced, or advanced levels. These kind of classifications can be there. So accordingly the content can be divided in these 3 stages. And if there is any role specific or let's say skill specific training that is required, so basically like if somebody is going to do something physically with an equipment or maybe a tool, so there has to be certain videos and contents to it. And
Okay.
to motivate the learners and to keep them learners engaged, we also have to incorporate the reward and recognition programs like badges and certification levels, certifications where we can download from e-learning modules and all.
Okay.
उसके बाद सर एक वी हैव टू हैव वन LMS या फिर जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर है जिस पे हम लोग वी एंड वील हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट इट इज एक्सेसिबल बाय द कैंडिडेट्स आइदर वाया फोन और वाया मोबाइल फोन और मे बी लैपटॉप और टैबलेट व्हाटएवर इट इज.
Okay.
सो उसका भी ध्यान रखना होगा.
Okay.
सो मेरे ख्याल से सर इतना आई कैन थिंक ऑफ दिस नाउ.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Jeevan Jyoti, is it right? Wafi, Rahul. Yeah, Jeevan, please go ahead.
Sir, is it designing the module or is it segregating the participants and then designing accordingly?
I'm
could-
saying if you have to create a module, let's say, for instance, an e-learning module, right?
Hmm.
What will the various stages in which you'll develop the materials? How will you develop the materials? There would be different stages of creating materials, right? In e-learning,
Yes, sir.
what could be the stages?
Based on the types of participants, their requirements,
Okay.
we can module. And
Ju-
also, while developing the module, we can consider the vision and mission of the organization. We can
Okay.
include that.
What else? Now, this is just not a question to her, it's a question to all of you.
So, sir, it is starting from need analysis of the participants.
Okay.
Then we will go ahead with the designing of the program.
Okay.
Once the it is being, I can say, agreed by the stakeholders, so we will go ahead with the development. The
Okay.
development will include the self-paced, because in e-learning, I think self-paced programs are the most acceptable one.
Okay.
After this one, we would be having the questionnaire in between, as far as when this self-paced is going on,
Okay.
and then training evaluation, means
Achha.
what they have learned out.
Wonderful. Excellent. Anybody else? That's an amazing this thing. Anybody else? Let's give it a try, whether, you get the whole of it or you don't get the whole of it. That's a different thing altogether. But let's give it a try.
So
Okay.
I'll also incorporate tests in between.
Test in between, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's say while creating the e-learning material for a program, would you consider the following stages? Is the screen visible to all of you?
It is visible, sir.
Let's say, for instance, you set a clear goal, like we started with the objective, which is there, right? Then you create a course content, then you create course videos that need to support this. You edit the final course, then you create the course interface, which is there. perform a quality check whether it works on all the platforms, because it could work on a mobile platform, it could work on a tablet, it could work on multiple other things. Then launch the program, take a feedback in terms of an alpha test where you basically try and see, how the program is done, monitor and revise, and the stage keeps continuing. Would you agree that all these byparts would be materials that need to be created, and also test and assessments also would, be incorporated into it,
Yes, sir.
right? Does this give you a complete overview in terms of how it should look?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has a query on this? Ankita, Kriti, Wafi, Ishan, Rahul,
Yes, sir.
is it okay? Or do you have any query on this?
No, sir. We are
No.
okay with this.
You're good on-
So
Okay.
in step 5,
Okay.
create course interface. What do you mean by that? Like, is it like you're checking the platform where you are going to present, or
See,
Mm.
if you're using an LMS, it has a default interface, correct?
Hmm.
Let's say if you want to do a branding specifically to a program, or let's say you call the program an impact, or let's say you call it a boot camp, or let's say you call it the best in class training, or
Hmm.
you want to name it, you want to brand it. In that case, you would like to create an interface for it, right?
Huh.
Right. And there could be also another aspect which you would like to add, where you would like to be having an online prompt or a tutor who comes up. So you would like to create a cover page also for that, or a character also for that, right?
Okay.
So sometimes maybe an animator or animated
Animated person also,
yes,
a
yes,
character or an individual, let's say for that matter of fact.
yes. For each such there's quizzes and all where the person needs to particularly drag something and put it in a place. So that can
Absolutely.
also be considered as an interface.
Many organizations, what happens, should I call you Jeevan, should I call you Jyoti, or should I call
Jo,
you Bala?
Jo, sir.
Okay, Joe, in certain organizations, what happens is you are being nominated for a certain number of courses, correct?
Okay.
And then you get a mailer from the so-called LMS.
Hmm.
The mailer has a character which talks about what the program is all about and the interface that is there, right?
Yes.
Introduce to the interface, and then you're taken through the interface. There is an introduction on how to use the platform and so on and so forth, right?
Yes, sir.
That could be that interface also.
Okay. Got it.
Anybody else? Any other queries? Could we move forward? Moving forward, if you have an e-learning course creation process, first of all, a concept creation has to happen. So the materials, so it could be an internal or an external party who would be doing so. You could create a design, of a certain way in which the program has to be done. So you either form the ID model or the others, which is that. Then you have a scenario writing. Then you do design creation. You create animations. You create the video elements, which is there. You also include the e-learning courses programming in terms of how the things has to be done, what format do they follow. If somebody's scoring goes down, then they bring them back into the loop. So you got all those things that you have to pre-plan when it comes to an e-learning module. Now, I'll just stop sharing my screen, and if all of you can possibly respond, what would be the training materials that would be, or resources that would be required if you're doing an outbound training session? I would like everybody to answer.
Sir, outbound training session, like it will be a behavioral training session or it will be like,
You
related
decide.
to personal.
You decide.
Sir, I'll go with the behavioral training session because I've delivered such
Okay.
sessions.
Okay.
So in outbound setup, I'll have to have a place where where the training can be conducted, maybe a park or maybe a field.
Okay.
Apart from that, there has to be a set boundaries for the safety of people, where to go, where not to go.
Okay.
The tools can be the exercise that we are going to do, any exercise. So the tools related to that, maybe flip chart, maybe frisbees, maybe whatever through games and learning. So there it can be.
Okay.
Apart from that, there has to be, if the crowd is big, then we'll have to have certain microphone speakers and all, so that we can communicate with each other clearly. And there has
Okay.
to be a response system, or maybe a fire exit or a safety angle also. That if
Okay.
in case if anything happens, there has to be a first aid on standby. So these kind of things can be resources on an
Okay.
outbound training.
Wonderful. What else could be there? That's wonderful insight. What else could be there?
The chai nasta pani, these kind of things.
Nashta, pani, all those resources that has to be there. Amazing.
Along with that, logistic is also important.
Wonderful. So logistics is also required.
Yes.
For an online program, what would be the logistics required?
The network connection, the interface, the necessary softwares that are required would be the logistics for an online program.
Okay. What else? Okay, wonderful. What else? I'm going to share a screen with you, and I would like you to tell me what kind of materials would be required for each form of the training. So let's get a little more specific, right? So we'll try to get a little more specific and try to understand. Let's do this. Is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes.
So you're doing a behavioral training, which is there. I would request you to tell me for role play, what kind of training materials would be required?
Sir, an instruction sheet.
Okay,
Uh, if the two people are sitting sitting in each other's face, and there has to be sitting area, or
Okay.
maybe a stage where they can perform a role play.
what kind
Props.
of props? Okay, wonderful, excellent. What else?
Sir, in role play only, there has to
Role
be
play only.
participant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there has to be participant who are willing to, participate in the role play, and observer also, who will be
Okay.
marking their observations for that role play.
Okay. Naren,
And
anything else would be there? Yeah, Ravi, please continue.
जी sir, मेरे ख्याल से these things will be needed in role play, and an instructor, of course.
Okay. Kirti, would you like to add anything else as a training material for a role play? Ramesh, Jitendra, Sriram, Prince, Preeti.
Maybe a checklist to mark the feedback of the role play.
Okay, wonderful. What else? Excellent. That's an excellent thought process. What else? Wafi, Prince.
So Prince this side, yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, I believe that instant feedback should be there to the
Okay.
participants who are in role play.
Would you like to do a video record, Prince?
Yeah, that can also give them a means real feedback what
Real
they
time.
were doing at that things.
Wonderful. Excellent. Okay, let's get into the
So
next.
there should be a debriefing session also
Absolutely,
for
there
that.
should be a debriefing also. Wonderful, excellent. What else? So let's have a checklist when we create each form. Okay, let's take, for that matter of fact, business games or simulations. Let's say there's a business game or a simulated environment. What do you think would be required as training materials?
So the basic simulation instruction as to what we are looking at, the background of the simulation, the rules by which the simulation goes,
Wonderful.
and also a scoring sheet if it's like we're saying a business game simulation. So a scoring sheet on different aspects that people are being scored on.
Amazing. What
That-
else? Yeah, excellent. Yeah. You were saying something else also, Ankita, at the end. Scoring sheet besides that, what?
I was just saying, so this is all I can think of as of now.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else?
So participant sort of manual na to give the overview of the business simulation scenario, objective of the game. Or maybe the growing, take the example of this growing market share or maximizing profit, like that.
Okay.
Or maybe the explanation of any particular role as a marketing manager or a marketing officials, like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Anybody else? Now, the reason I'm actually bringing all these things up for you is there could be different forms of checklists that you'll require. So let's say for a game-based one, which is there, you would also require specifically a specific brief with regards to what the game simulation is all about, a rewrite to the game, an end objective to the game, a participant brief to the game. Would you agree to that?
Yes, sir.
So I feel
Yes,
so.
that's very important.
Yeah, please go ahead, Ravi.
Sir, somebody else was saying something.
Is
I
it
was not.
Prince or is it Naren?
Sir, I was saying something.
Yeah, Ishan, please go ahead.
Sure. So as you mentioned that giving them a brief. So as we have learned about like from the previous courses, previous sessions of yours as well, with regards to the checklist, it's very much important to create a tempo of the whole scenario. As in, if we are performing an activity, we should be giving them a brief about what the whole agenda is gonna be. Because unless and until they don't know what the whole like how the flow of the whole session would be, they won't be able to engage themselves.
Absolutely. They would not know why they are engaging also into that scenario.
Exactly, what is the purpose of bringing them into the offshore?
Wonderful. Excellent. Now let's take up the next one, which is game-based experiential learning. Any examples of a game-based experiential learning that you can quote, and then you can tell me about the
Sir,
material.
sir, I do some of the game-based experiential learning. So,
Okay.
like Chinese is whisper, sir. It can be
Mhm.
an outbound as well as inbound also. So to to face them, like we'll be requiring maybe blindfolds.
Okay.
We'll be requiring persons. Either it can be a verbal message or an audio message or a kind of an act which can be done. So one of the examples is that for business game based experiential learning. Apart from सर बहुत सारे games है सर अब इतने ही बताऊं.
So
So one of the
every
examples.
okay, every game would have an objective, Ravi.
हाँ जी सर सबका अलग होता है.
Okay, every game also needs possibly A, it could be if it is online, then it could be something which is there in terms of on a device. Or if it is not on a device, then you need a space to do it, correct?
Yes sir.
Hence the ambience, the all the other things that go into that space is critical.
Yes sir.
And then the checklist that you need to have in terms of how the space has to be, how the place has to be lit up or otherwise, the lighting, all those aspects of it.
So you're getting at arrangement.
All the arrangements, all the materials that will be required, including,
sir.
let's say, for instance, you call the blindfold, is it a black blindfold, is it a maroon blindfold, everything for that specifics which is there has to come in. The reason I brought all these scenarios up is I would request each one of you to sit and prepare a detailed training materials checklist for any one of the interventions that you want to do during the session, so that you don't have any points left open for somebody else to come back and question you with regards to why this was done. What was the objective of it? How the entire process had to be taken care of. So all those aspects of it needs to be done. Any questions on this? Would you like to pick up any other one that we should discuss? All of you, if you can tell me any other one that we should discuss.
Sir, on the job training is something that, it is, I cannot think of a checklist per se for an on the job training.
Okay, let's pick up a function for which we're going to do an on the job. Let's say we're going to do a training program, Ankita, for a service person, okay? And the service person is going to do the service of an equipment, let's say an electronic equipment, or it could be even an automobile for that matter of fact, right? Now, what would be the checklist that needs to be done in terms of training material for the person to work on an automobile service, let's say an engine service for that matter of fact? What do you think would be required?
First and foremost, the manual for the engine as to how the engine is designed, how it functions, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the things that need to be taken care of, and in case of emergency, what a person needs to do.
The person needs to do, right? Now, what about trying to get to understand if this particular person needs a pre-read before he or she comes into this on-the-job training, or a pre-brief, or a self-paced learning session before he or she comes for the program, or an assessment that needs to be done before he or she comes for the program? Would you consider that?
Yes, certainly.
Right? Now, we have the course objective, we have the training objective, but there are, let's say, 250 individuals who are ITI diploma holders or polytechnic holders who have come into the stream, and each and every individual's learning path is different. Now, how would you design a training material that will meet all the audience requirement?
So again, like from the last one, is that it should be a consolidation of all the learning styles, which is it should have visual aids, it should give them the ability. So it could be a diagrammatic representation and the same being described in words.
Wonderful. Now, what is the objective of an on-the-job training, if I can ask you, Ankita?
The objective of on-the-job
Why do that? Why do an on-the-job
Yeah.
training?
So coming to that is to ensure that once the person is right on their job, they have all the required information to be able to do their jobs successfully.
Wonderful. Let's say if we do a simulation-based environment for them and we take them through the same engine, the same vehicle in a simulated environment before they come on the job, do you think that the person would be well prepared?
No, sir, because a simulation would take away certain aspects. If I talk about the real-time scenarios, I can think of. So if a train is running on a track, what velocity, what braking impact would it have? The simulation will not be able to give the actual feel of the thing. So that's the difference between on the job and a simulated environment.
Okay. A simulated environment, let's say for instance, you go into a driving session. Let's say if you go anywhere today, they take you through a pre-assessment test. They give you all the details of the signals, the road signs for you to know. Then they basically make you sit in a simulation wherein you're given a steering, you're given an accelerator, brake, clutch. And in an automated scenario, you're basically asked to drive to see if your steering control is fine, if your sense of direction is fine.
But the stress of the traffic is something that a person would actually encounter. However, they will not get the real experience in.
Absolutely. So the first thing is they're trying to check your response system. How are you responding to certain situations and scenarios? Would you agree to that?
Yes.
So you have a pre-assessment of this. Now you take this person on the job. Let's say, for instance, the person doesn't get to understand the things in detail. Now on the job, what do you do? What are the materials that is required? What could be the training aid? So he or she has been through a simulated environment, is then brought into a on-the-job training. What extra materials would be required?
So something that reminds them of what they've done in the simulation. So like if I'm again going back to the driving scenario, probably indications that these are your actual tools, where your accelerator is labeled on top of that, where your steering wheel is.
Okay. Why do you have a trainer on the job? Yeah, Ravi, you wanted to add something?
Sir, what Ankita is saying, there are certain thing that I think could be rectified. Almost everything apart from touch and feel, I think everything can be simulated. चाहे वो traffic का stress हो, पीछे से honking हो.
Everything can be. So what happens, Ravi, is on the job, you have a person who basically guides you.
Yes, sir.
The training process, right?
And
so it's just
instructor
not
is
the training. Yeah, so there's an instructor who's there. So it's just not that the on-the-job training is happening. There is also a person who's got the manual to basically enable a participant to understand a particular job or a part of the job or a part of the sub work which is there much more better through a prescribed module. And that prescribed module could be something also for the trainer to follow, which could be a trainer's manual, which is there. Would you agree to that?
Yes, sir. Like train
It's
the
always
trainer
not,
module.
yeah, so it's always not participant driven. We also need to keep in mind, Ankita, that when the trainer also takes to this, there are multiple profiles who are going to come in. So you need to have the assessment of the multiple profiles, and there is also a trainer manual to train the participant in terms of having a clear understanding of what is getting covered. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for pointing out the trainer manual.
Yeah, so the trainer, so what happens is, until then there is, the interface that is talking to you. Here the interface, that's the reason I asked you, why do you have this interface? Why have you moved away from a simulated environment into the on-the-job environment? Where in the on-the-job environment, you have a faculty or a facilitator or an instructor, or you can even call him a trainer, a teacher, or so on and so forth, has a manual that they follow to basically do this. Is this clear to everybody? Any queries on this?
Yes,
No.
sir.
It is more about observation by studying. Means it's not about if somebody is telling you about knowledge or skill part, but it is for the learner that he see the practical things happening in front of him.
Okay, but just for a moment, if you can keep your videos on, let me just ask you something. Why do we have a manual? You all mentioned about a manual. Why do we have a manual? What
Sir,
is the
manual is
need
basically
for
do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts.
Is it just do's and-
Guidelines.
Sir,
Guidelines.
Yeah.
can I, so it is a detailed information of what we are dealing with, how
Okay.
we are deal with, and why are we doing what we're doing.
Why are we doing what we're doing? What else does the manual actually point at? What else does the manual give you?
The right way of doing things.
Okay. More than the right way, it enables you to tell you what could be the various ways in which a participant could be. And how do you need to facilitate each of the levels of participants to get to the next level? Would you agree to that?
Sir, especially in case of Legos, when we bring a pack, there are instructions from level 1 to level 2.
Absolutely. Every level has an instruction for both the person who plays as well as the instruction for the person who conducts the play. Would you all agree to this? Why is there a facilitator note there as a training material for on the job? Naren, Jitendra, Rahul, Wafi, Preeti, why do we have a facilitator note?
Sir, because there's a person who's already crossed that level and he's on another level or maybe a higher level than the person who's going on the on-job training.
Okay.
So he or she might have the proper senses to get the job done and to guide the new person. So
Okay.
that is why it is preferable to have an instructor, maybe in the form of a on the job trainer, or but कभी कभी अगर नहीं भी होता तो it can work out because the guy who's giving you on the job training, that he or she is much more like he's efficient in doing that. That's why he or she can give you because of the level increasement that you talked about. So that might be one of the reasons.
Okay. Anybody
Sir,
else?
sir, there may be different layers wherein at some part of the module, an instructor may not be a mandatory requirement, and at some parts of the module, it is mandatory to undertake that module under the supervision of a trainer or a facilitator.
Okay. And now I think this will give you a little more fair bit of idea as to.
I
Yeah,
just have
please.
to point out that in addition to everything that's been said,
Okay.
it is also to do with the consistency of what is being delivered.
Absolutely. Is it the consistency of what is being delivered, or is it the consistency of delivery and understanding and comprehension of that?
Delivery, understanding, and comprehension.
Wonderful. So we follow the format, which is basically delivery. Then you basically assimilate, and then you understand, comprehend, and then lead to application of it. So let's say you have the various ways in which you can do the learning process. So these would be the essential components of a training module. One is overview of the training program and the learning objective and the outcomes, which could possibly be there for both the participant as well as for the trainer or the facilitator. The second aspect of it is the content, the various topics, the process that has to be followed. Case studies, real-time scenarios, exercises, activities, everything could come into play. The other ones are resources, which are articles, websites, could be videos, could be handouts, templates, so on and so forth. A glossary of terms, definitions, and other details so that the person can have a clear clarification of. And there is one more aspect that is added in here is usually a facilitator contact point is also given within the organization for the participants to reach out in case of pre-read understanding is not there. And then exercises and activities are carried on as and when the content has to be further studied on the job or through a simulated environment, so on and so forth. Is everyone on the same page with regards to what a training module should possibly carry? Are these okay? Or should it carry anything else?
Sufficient, sir.
Sufficient? Okay, anything that is missing? Now, there is one more aspect that goes into a trainer's manual, which is there, which is basically tells the train. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, a trainer's module is also the different kind of facilitation modes that they can use.
Absolutely. Facilitation techniques that can be given. Wonderful. It can also include how the participant scores, what kind of an engagement has to be carried out. It says a process flow also, right?
And how to capture a feedback, sir, after the training.
Absolutely. Now, let's say, for instance, you're going to, after this, define a KRA for a effective trainer in sales, what kind of KRAs would you design? I want all of you to take some time, think over, and each one of you needs to contribute. Let's say Rahul for this time. So Rahul goes first, followed by Sriram and then Jitendra. What kind of KRAs would you design for an effective sales trainer? Rahul, if you're there.
Hello.
Yeah, Rahul.
So for effective trainer for sales, so we can keep the KRA for the sales trainers, like how much they have been achieving after your post training. Let us say if I have been delivered, and what was the ratios for last 2 quarters or 1 quarters, and
Okay.
after post training, what was the current sales or the proficiency of the sales resources for the next 1 quarter. So that can be defined for the sales trainer how effectively you have been driven. Okay, that can be one part. And if we could have been give some of the role play or the assessment pattern.
Okay.
So before analyzing what training they needed. Okay. So for that we can have the pre OGT, or for pre we can say assessment. What actually they have understood regarding the sales point of view. In terms of there are many things, negotiation objections, if they could have something like कि किस तरीके से वो डिलीवर करते हैं या फिर किस तरीके से ऑब्जेक्शन हैंडलिंग करते हैं, सो दैट वी कैन पुट एन प्री टेस्ट and after training how they are pitching to the people. So that can be one of the part of KRA for the trainer.
Okay. Thank you. Jitendra, before I can, Ravi, just hold on. I'll ask Jitendra and Sriram before I come to you. Jitendra, are you there? Sriram? Anybody else other than Ravi who wants to go ahead? Preeti, Joe, Prince, Ramesh, Ishan, Ankita.
So like learning, what were the learning objectives and whether those learning objectives were achieved after the program got over?
Okay. Anybody else? Wafi, would you like to give it a try? Joe, Prince, anybody else?
Sir, Prince is right.
Yeah, Prince. Go ahead, Prince. Are you there, Prince? I think I've lost Prince. Ravi, would you like to add in?
Sir, I would politely like to beg and differ, to what Rahul said. So Rahul was defining basically KPIs,
Okay.
performance parameters. So how effective was the training? So I think here the questions are the KRAs, the responsible areas, not the performance indicators, like how well did he done before and after the training session.
True.
So KRA में basically sir, like if it is a role defined training, तो उसके KRA अलग होंगे. Generic KRA तो यही होंगे ना, the guy, the trainer अच्छे से बात कर सके, he can be a good
Absolutely.
communicator. तो इस तरह की चीजें होंगी मेरे ख्याल से. KPI नहीं होंगे सर.
KPI नहीं होंगे. So just first thing is, he or she, before he or she takes the program, if it's a product or a service, that particular knowledge has to be there. The second aspect of it is he or she should be able to build a relationship with the participants or the client or the prospects, stakeholders, and others. Another important aspect is active listening, because a lot of other participants would have a lot of experience and a lot of things to say, pain points and other things that he could, and effective communication. So we are looking at key result areas. We are not looking at performance indicators. So I hope all of you have had an idea between what is a KPI, an indicator with regards to where you want to get, and the area that your trainer should be good at before you have a set of trainers or the trainer selected. Now, let me give you a similar scenario. The next one is, if you want to take up a soft skill trainer, what would be the KRA? I think all of you can go for it. Wafi, you can also give it a try. I want Ravi for you to hold on. I want the others to give it a try. Preeti, Vijay, Ishan, Ankita, Naren, Sriram, Jitendra, give it a try. And then we try to see what could be the KRS.
So first and foremost, effective communication.
Okay.
Second, I would say empathy with the participants.
Okay.
Those are the two that I can think of as of now.
Wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
then also the expertise in the soft skill that they are
Great.
present.
Wonderful. Okay.
For me, it would be engagement.
Engage.
How, because it's very important for a soft skill trainer to address the issue which the employees might be facing it, and the issues which they might think about it post the course is delivered, or the content is delivered.
Okay.
Both the aspects would be important, because if he is not able to deliver it, or give the hands up of the content, then it would be a difficult task.
Okay.
So for me, engagement is very important, because engagement would make him familiar with what exactly the root cause is, why the peoples are not, the team is not able to deliver 100%, or getting the areas wherein the improvement is required.
Where the improvement is required. Wonderful. Yeah, Ravi, go ahead.
Sir, in specifically the question here is like what I understand is a KRA effective for effective trainers. Like some of my colleagues have said beautiful points to add to this. What I would like to add, sir, soft skill trainer should be a motivator,
Should be
because
motivated.
good motivator, sir. मतलब उसको देख के लगना चाहिए कि भाई these are the kind of skills that we should possess. Product training में knowledge is a part, but soft skill, because it is a skill and it is a behavioral technique.
Participant को
Sir,
influence करना आना चाहिए.
yes, influential होना चाहिए, sir, and he has to be good, motivate करना आना चाहिए, sir. Skills can only be achieved through motivation or by fear. So
Absolutely.
either of those.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add in before we have a look? Preeti, would you like to give it a try? Joe?
Sir, I may add it that he should be able to understand and managing others' emotions also.
Others
Emotional intelligence, sir.
Wonderful. That's an amazing point to be added. Anybody else, if we can
Thanks.
yeah.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
he could be
I'll-
able to easily get connected with the participants. That is also very much needed.
Connect is also very critical. Wonderful. That's a wonderful point. Yeah, Ramesh, you were adding a point.
Yes, sir. The best communications and the example for any trainers with the and communication, and the best way for a trainer is the give the example, like that is the soft skill increase and personality development and the self discipline, like that, sir.
Okay.
They give the example, team building, like that, sir,
Okay. But yeah.
and teamwork also, sir.
So effective communication is very clear because the concept has to be conveyed clearly. Active listening to engage with the participants, positive attitude to create a welcoming environment, motivating environment, patience and empathy, as you rightly mentioned. So KRA 2, wonderful job done, all of you. So let's go to the next one. Let's give it a try. So for a behavioral trainer, what would be required? Just think. Let's all give it a thought. For behavioral trainer, what would be required? Wafi, give it a try. Even if you are just giving it a try, just give it a try. I want all of you to give it a try. For a behavioral trainer, what is required?
Sir,
So-
good body language.
Okay, Naren? Yeah, Joe?
He should be able to do the walk the talk, sir.
Walk the talk. Wonderful. Ravi, yes, 1 point, please.
Sir, patience होना चाहिए, sir.
Patience on a both.
This I have personally felt, sir.
Okay, wonderful.
Sir, sir, may I add it? In addition to the patience, tolerance is also there, no?
Yeah, absolutely. That is also there. I completely agree with you. Wafi, would you like to give it an ad? Okay, Rahul? Preeti?
So all the EI skills, I believe, empathy, motivation, self-regulation,
All those things, right?
social skills. Yeah.
Social skills. Let's look at the 4 top KRAs which are required with this thing. So positive reinforcement is critical. Do you think so?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Active listening is an important part because it's with behavioral requirement. Would you say that confident delivery is critical? Project an air of authority when it comes to behavioral training. Why this is critical? Why this change is required? Even with EI, do you think that that aspect of engagement should be confident? And the last one is humor and engagement. Do you think that this keeps the learners engaged through a very difficult ongoing program, which is a behavioral program? Would you agree to this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 100%.
100%. Okay. Now we're going to increase the bar a bit. For business skills, what do you think an effective KRA would be for a trainer? What kind of KRA should the trainer have?
Professional approach,
Okay.
time bound.
Wonderful.
Knowledge.
Wonderful.
So the subject matter expertise.
Subject matter expertise. What else? Come on, guys, keep it rolling. Yeah. What else? Ishan?
Sir, he or she has to have an a business aligned approach.
Business.
Like what is the objective of the session which is going to be taken?
Absolutely. What else?
Sir, sharing the experience.
Sharing the experience. Amazing. What else?
Competitor analysis.
Okay. Badhiya.
Sir,
Aur
building strategies.
Business models.
Okay. Wonderful. What else?
Sir, strategies.
Strategies. Okay. Let's give it a try once again. Do you think strategic thinking is very critical?
Yes.
Absolutely, sir.
Absolutely. Now, I want all of you to think for a moment of time when you become a trainer to develop business skills. Okay. What kind of programs can be covered under business skills? Let's list that out first.
So we're talking about the skills here.
Business skills में क्या-क्या training programs cover होंगे?
So
leadership thinking.
Marketing, sales.
Leadership thinking.
Okay.
Leadership.
Team motivation handling.
Okay.
Conflict.
Yeah, conflict management, strategic thinking.
Okay.
Sir, relationship building.
Relationship. Okay. Let me tell you for that matter of fact, if you are a business, skill development trainer who's there, what kind of areas do you think usually would be the key areas that a business skill trainer would address?
Administration, management.
Sir, in my opinion, it will be mostly technical, related to the everyday job.
How many of you believe that he would be addressing something as important as a business performance, a strategic management, insight into a business process management, financial management, leadership aspect of it, mentoring and possibly coaching, negotiation for that matter of fact? It could be multiple other things. Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, I would say counseling, mentoring is more important because there is that area is an area where the leaders would be able to pitch in and motivate the employees to excel in their careers.
Absolutely. So when you have such kind of a scenario, so strategic thinking is very critical. The next thing is about financial management. You should have a clear idea. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say, for instance, would you also say that marketing and communication becomes critical?
Yes, sir. With regards to brand visibility.
Brand visibility. Let's say, for instance, for that matter of PR and other things, which is there.
Correct, correct, sir.
Leadership and management is critical.
Yes.
Now, why I'm giving you these KRAs before I can give you KPIs? You select a person based upon his SME, which is subject matter expertise, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree
Yes,
that KRA brings a person closer to the subject matter expertise?
Yes.
Hence, if KRA is closer to the subject matter expertise, would it be able to meet the requirement of your training program or training flow?
Yes, sir.
Would that further lead to a training material generation?
Yes.
If that would lead to a training material generation, then would you require a KRA assessment before you can do a KPI?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
In that case, the KRA would lead into a KPI through a course objective or a learning objective. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
So the fundamental is the KRA. The byproduct of the KRA is a KPI that enables a trainer to deliver the outcome that is projected out through a training program with the use of essential training materials, methodologies, so on and so forth. Are you all in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Logical flow?
Yes.
Let's get to the next one. Now this is going to be slightly tricky. Now I want all of you to think over. So I gave you a scenario of a business skill. I told you how it is interconnected. Now look for a leadership program. Okay. It could be somewhere which is a 1 intervention, 2 intervention, 3 intervention. Let's call it a 6 months intervention program for people who are in succession planning metrics or people who have gone into a role newly. how would you, as an L&D expert, define a KRA for an effective trainer to be before you can even get on to creating a training material, training module, course objective, so on and so forth? What would be the KRA that you would like to define for an effective leader, effective leadership trainer? Think and answer.
Sir,
Ravi, go ahead. I
okay,
want
sir.
others also to contribute.
So
Sir,
360 thinking is what I can think of first.
What is it, Ankita? Can you come again? Pardon me.
360 thinking, like
360-degree thinking.
look at the bigger picture, think from a 360-degree perspective.
Badhiya. Now I want you to think in 360-degree. Ankita, you're a camera that can look in 360-degree. Let all your answers be 360-degree now. Go ahead. Ravi, go ahead.
No, sir, I'll allow Ankita to finish first.
Okay. Think. I want all of you to think. Yeah, please go ahead, Ankita.
Yeah, Ravi, for the moment, I said what I wanted to. Thanks for.
Yeah, let's brainstorm together now.
So
Ankita,
assertive
yeah.
communication, which is very
Assertive
much
communication.
required for
Okay.
training.
What else?
Sir, for me, it would be vision and mission also,
Okay.
because it's very important from a leadership to address what is the end goal, what is the vision, and what is how he wants the employees' contribution to it.
Okay. What else?
Sir, Prince this side.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, from a leadership perspective, I would say that he would be the person who need to understand how to means handle a team first,
Absolutely.
because he is having all the means different people who are
Okay.
expert in different areas.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful.
and he must be knowing about everything. I can say means a little bit, so that he can go ahead with that.
Beautiful.
And first of all, he should be a business thinker. That
Okay.
whatever the team is saying, that should meet the organization goal, that is of budget.
Okay.
And furthermore, developing the team further on the required thing, because going on in future, we will be having a bigger vision to I can say expand the team.
Wonderful. Can I ask you all something? Just for instance, if you're all experienced leaders, should I do hand holding or should I facilitate?
Facilitate.
Sure.
Facilitate, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Should I inspire or should I engage?
Both.
Engage.
Both, correct?
Both, sir, both.
Okay.
Both.
Anybody else? Any other ideas that is coming through your mind? Yeah, go ahead.
Be a coach.
Be a coach. Wonderful. Beautiful, Ankita. That's wonderful. Ravi.
सर मैं दूसरे बोल रहे सर मैं अभी सुन रहा हूँ I'm learning mode.
So you're listening. You're in listening mode. Wonderful. Rahul. Naren.
Which would be best thing?
Okay.
सर मेरे हिसाब से सर being resilient is one of the biggest faculty
Absolutely.
which
You need to be resilient. Otherwise, you can't survive that.
yes ये सब जो भी सर ये it only comes with patience and resilience, and especially when you're talking about leadership, the people are already well accomplished and they are way ahead of your time, or that is why the reason they are there, because they have done and practiced all of the thing. So rather than aspiring, because आप कितना aspire करोगे sir? Only Ratan Tata can inspire Mahindras, so he cannot. Okay, so it's rather to be better to be in an engaging mode, माने ज़्यादा as compared to aspiring mode.
Wonderful.
So engaging mode.
Anybody else? Anything else to be added?
So Preeti here, so leaders are the one who show the way.
Okay. So you want me to show the way, right? Wonderful. Excellent. So this
So
is
they are not the one who go the way or know the way. They are rather the one who show the way, who go the way. Sorry, who go the way.
Absolutely. Okay. So would you agree that inspire, facilitate, and motivate is required?
So repeat. Can you repeat it?
On the screen, if you see, inspire, facilitate, and motivate is critical.
Yes, sir.
So you don't want to make them feel that they don't know anything. You want rather an engaging environment. The second thing is empower and delegate.
Yes, sir.
Right? Because you're running a leadership program. Okay. Third one says that collaboration and teamwork is very critical. Right? And the fourth one says very critically, provide feedback and coaching. Important, as you mentioned. Right? Now, the reason why I took you through this is there's a very specific reason to this. Now, there are different types of training facilities for different types of learning objectives. Hence, one of the key things that you have to keep in mind is how the facility has to be arranged. Now, what is the science behind the facility? Anybody?
So science means science or like science?
No, real science behind the facility. Why is facility so critical?
Sir, because it captures, because audio visual hota hai sir us mein, to theater ki tarah it has to be like, you know, well reflective. The sound has to reach all the corridors or the corners of the the visible, the projection whichever we are showing, it has to be visible to each and every client. It has to be so close that it can be engaging, but not
Okay.
too far, so that it can, you know, it can make people feel that they are aloof. So the you know, the trainer or the facilitator can walk through them, you know, make a connect with them. So it has to be designed, and it has to be faced in such a way that if there is not a hierarchy base, then it has to be faced on a common ground. Like every participant should feel that I also have certain holding on this ground or in this arena.
Okay. Uh, how many of you agree that a neutral place is very critical when it comes to a training place?
Yes, sir. That's why we prefer hotels.
Okay. How many of you believe that it should be away from the so-called hustle and bustle of a real life work scenario?
Sir, I agree to that.
Yes.
Now, the question is, when it comes to on-the-job training, you can't be away.
Yes.
But yet you can be away. Let's say you have a management development center, or you have the state-of-the-art training facility, which is away from your manufacturing facility, away from the city. Does the audience also prefer ambience?
Yes.
Does the audience prefer the walls around, the seating,
Right. Yes.
lighting,
Matters a lot.
nature?
So nature can sometimes be distracting.
Can
That's
be distracting. What about an OBT session?
for if I understand correctly, an outbound, right?
Outbound, yeah. An
Outbound,
outbound.
yeah. Outbound nature can be a part of it, but otherwise for training sessions where it's not outbound, nature can be distracting.
Okay. What if a nature is a requirement for you to refresh and refuel in a
Then-
leadership program?
Then yes.
Okay. Now, the
If
question
if it's built into the program and
absolutely.
it's as a need assessment that, you know, a refresher is required and being in the nature would help,
Okay.
then that's a consideration. But nature I would always take with the asterisks.
Okay. Ankita, let's say, for instance, we have a scenario wherein the participants are unhappy because of a certain organizational change. Okay. And they have been called in for a program where the facilitator's main job is to basically address change management. In such a scenario,
Sir, in such a scenario, again, I would go back to the program design, the design.
program design. Would you consider the elements of a training layout, a training facility, a training space?
I would.
Okay. Would you also take into consideration the travel time, the place that they travel into, how they get energized while going to that place?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Would you also travel and plan in terms of when they should get up, what flight they should take, all those aspects?
Yes.
So that is, but I would also attribute to the health and safety parameters that are applicable in an organization.
Okay. When you bring in person for the OBT session, would you check in the previous night or the same day?
Previous.
The previous night.
Okay. Ravi, please go ahead.
Sir, I have a practical experience of this.
Mhm.
Mahindra's plant is in Zahirabad. One of the Mahindra's
Right.
plant is in Zahirabad.
Mhm.
But Zahirabad के आसपास कोई major airport नहीं है. So
Mhm.
we have to conduct a particular launch training session for a vehicle. तो
Mhm.
उसके लिए सभी को हैदराबाद में लॉन्च मतलब उतार करके एक नाइट पहले स्टे करा करके वो 2 घंटे का ट्रैवल एंड टू कीप देम एंगेज्ड एंड नॉट बोरिंग. So we had to go through a lot of planning and what activities we'll be doing it, so that the people are on time also, energized also, feel, you know, full on their stomach, and then go and attentively listen to the training.
Right. So the training facility, is it just the training venue? Or is it much beyond that?
Beyond that.
How many of you believe that it's much beyond that?
Certainly, sir, beyond that.
Beyond that? 100% sure?
Yes.
Okay. Hence, I would request all of you to basically view the training facilities that has been taken into account. If it is an external facility or an internal facility, the following needs to be considered. Do you see the 3 bulleted points, please?
Yes, sir.
Indoor, outdoor, virtual, classroom, conference, anything for that matter of fact. Let's say we did the same thing on a Microsoft Teams or some other platform. It would have been much more slow for it to seamlessly connect. Even the virtual platform is critical. Agreed?
एकदम.
तो सारी की सारी चीजें जो आप लेते हैं जैसे कि bandwidth में if you have a remote connect, you'll have to take into account all the aspects when it comes to a training facility which is there. The physical training facility are all the classroom styles. Now, if you typically have a classroom style, where do you use it?
So training halls.
ट्रेनिंग हॉल्स कहाँ पे ये किस टाइप के ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम के लिए क्लासरूम स्टाइल ठीक है?
So product trainings.
अरे वाह.
प्रोडक्ट ट्रेनिंग्स ओके. एनीबॉडी एल्स?
Around knowledge based,
ओके.
SOP.
while the
Simple instruction based things, just for knowledge sharing.
If you have an instruction happening in a classroom module, what would be the intake and the objective of the program that is delivered in a classroom module?
Just an information.
Just an information, correct, Joe?
Yes.
Or would you consider anything else to come out of as an outcome after this particular engagement through this style?
Mostly information, sir.
Mostly, okay.
Mostly knowledge gain, sir.
Mostly
Instructor
knowledge,
led.
instructor led.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you consider it as instructor led delivery, or would you just consider it as information stage, or let's say knowledge stage?
Instruction led.
Instruction led delivery, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's come to the boardroom style. Where do you think that you'll use this kind of a setup?
Meetings.
Meetings, okay?
Meetings, leadership,
Okay.
business
And
deal.
in
Sharing
group
thoughts.
discussion, sir. Group discussion also, sir.
Group
Group
discussion.
discussion.
Yeah, Prince,
Haan
you
ji,
were
haan ji.
saying something.
Yeah, I was saying the sharing thoughts.
Okay, sharing thoughts. Could this be a session where you could do design thinking and brainstorming?
Yes.
Brainstorming most probably we start with those roundtable one.
Okay. Would you try it in a boardroom style?
For brainstorming, sir? Yes.
How many of you are okay doing a brainstorming in a boardroom style?
Sir, I will go with Prince. I will do it on a round table style.
Okay.
Sir, until and unless it's not a resource limitation, I would not go with a boardroom style rather small groups would be my brainstorming style.
How much would you consider the group to be?
For a brain,
Now, please note the boardroom style, the round table style, and the small group style can be all used for brainstorming, but comes with a very specific objective.
Okay.
Okay. I want all of you to look at this. Look at the boardroom style, look at the round table style, and look at the small group style. How many participants sitting in the boardroom style, if you can tell me?
10.
10. How many in the round table?
8.
How many in the small group?
20.
4?
20.
20.
Table 4?
4 tables.
No,
5 tables.
4 people on one table and 5 tables. Total people in the room 10, and the other on one table is 8. And let's say you have 20 tables of 8.
Sir, in the round table style, are we saying, or in the small?
In a round table style, if I have a big hall, I put a round table and I have got 20 tables because I'm addressing the entire sales force of a team. So would that arrangement enable me to do a brainstorm?
Sir, ho to sakta hai, but it will be in different group.
So
We'll have to branch out.
You'll have to branch out. The number
Yeah.
of trainers would increase.
Yes.
The number of things would
Yes.
Yes or no?
Because keeping the feedback of all those 20 peoples and getting that and interjections and thought processes and all, that will be much more time consuming or hectic. But in a round table conference, whether because the group of people are bit number are less, so head on face to face interaction can be done. So brainstorming के लिए best मेरे ख्याल से है. वैसे we can use a small group discussion also, because in sales conferences also we use this kind of arrangement. But effectively brainstorming के लिए, sir, I'll go with round table.
Okay.
So brainstorming for just adding to what Ravi said, brainstorming with a larger group if every group has a objective or they're looking towards an outcome, then it's an effective style because each table is presenting their own outcomes. However, if it's the larger group of 8 into 20, then it is a difficult group to manage. It should not be that big.
Wonderful. Ankita, in that case, when you prepare the training flow, the training module, the objective, and the training material, right?
Yes,
And the delivery style, would you also consider the audience size and the hall, the facility size, and then decide what kind of engagement to be done?
Absolutely, sir.
So if you have given an external party, let's say a big hotel or a resort, to plan such a layout for you, is the specifics of the layout in the star formation or an F formation, H formation very critical when it comes to even a round table?
Sir, it again depends on what is the program outcome I'm looking at and what is my audience size.
Absolutely. So without this, is a layout of any use?
No.
No. So considering the fact that we concluded that the layout is critical based upon the training outcome, let's say, for instance, you're doing a leadership program of senior leaders between senior manager to AGM level. How would you like the formation to be when the total batch size is 40 people, where the experience varies between 8 years to about, let's say, 21 years? How would you like the layout to be?
The small round tables.
Okay.
Sir, can I ask a question here?
Mm-hmm.
Is the objective to have everybody be equal in the group, or is the objective for everybody to present their distinguished point of views?
My question is, how would you handle the group? We are talking about a leadership program. So the KRA is already seen.
Leadership program, I will just delve a little bit further into this. A leadership program there we are trying to say how different group think. And suppose it's the senior managers who have to learn from the experience of AGMs.
Okay.
Or is it everybody needs to get to the same skill level?
Now, the objective of the program of having all of them under one roof is what? Could be a team building also, could be a collaboration also, could be conflict management also.
And sharing knowledge, learning from each other.
Yes or no? Now,
Yes.
let's say we have the 4 elements that has to be considered as a trainer to be effective. My question, Ankita, is for this diverse group of experience, levels, and years that has gone into service, how would you like the training facility to be? This is a question for all of you.
Yes, I would prefer it the small group arrangements. Sir.
Small group. How would you like the people to be arranged? Because you have a diverse.
A mixed group table.
Wonderful. What would be the criteria for a mixed group?
Sir, representation from each group. So from senior manager to AGM, representation from each group at each table.
Is it representation only from each experience level, function level, or is it from different generations as well?
So for this, I would say from each function and seniority.
Each function and seniority. Okay. You know the reason why I asked you this, Ankita?
Why, sir?
What would be the reason?
Sir, is to say how we are driving the outcome of the program.
Absolutely. So when you talk about coaching, Ankita, for a leadership program, what do you expect your co-participant to do?
To bring into different perspectives, to question status quo.
To question status quo. So would you also agree the fact that you would like the participant to also probably be coaching the other participants?
Yes, to an extent.
To an extent, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. So we have reached to a point wherein we can basically look at other areas also. Now, what other resources and equipments is required in a training room? Let's say that training room is even a hotel for that matter of fact. What other resources would be required?
Sir, AV, audiovisual, a mic if the room is too big.
Okay.
Or if the facilitator is not too comfortable shouting.
Okay.
Shouting is not the right word, but being able to speak loud enough for everybody to be heard. So AV, proper seats.
Okay.
a flip chart and a board, simple logistics to start with.
Okay. Anybody else?
And
Sir,
the notepads and pencils or pens for each participant.
Wonderful. Excellent. Anything else? Yeah, Ravi, go ahead.
Sir, whiteboard, if somebody wants to show some sort of calculations or the present status. Furthermore, for that particular topic wherein we are discussing on, there should be a presentation at that what's our existing status is.
Badhiya?
So one more thing that I remember, two more things actually, candies and water bottles.
Candies and
I
water
was
bottle.
supposed to
Wonderful. Okay. Candies and water bottle. Could you see a lot of things you had mentioned? Training materials, supplies, talking stationery, writing tools, access to the learning simulations tools, offering refreshment snacks, creating hands-on learning experience, incorporating VR, utilizing e-learning platform software if it is required, once in a while, video projection, so on and so forth. So resources could be plenty. There is also one more resource that I've used when I did 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We had used a lot of bed and mattresses for people to relax, think, comprehend, and share a lot of things. So, there could be plenty of resources that could be added. You could involve a lot of materials that is also possibly games, external, internal board games, so on and so forth. So a lot of other materials can be put to use. So any questions so far as to where we have led so far? So even for that matter of fact, what you mentioned in terms of some programs, you would require even laptops. Some programs you would also require mic if you have a larger audience. All those things are there: whiteboard, projector, laptop. Yeah.
Again, resources that we determine, would they not be based on the training, the design and the outcome that we're looking at?
So it is also based upon the design outcome, and also, Ankita, not to forget the varied kinds of participants who come in.
So again, the participant, I'm just thinking aloud here with you, that
Okay.
the participant, the varied kind of participants would also be dependent on my design of the program, right? My design would not happen until and unless I have taken into consideration the participant profile. Because for instance, if I'm running a Excel training, I would not, irrespective of what my participant mix is, I would need people with their laptops, and I would not have chairs in the room, chairs and tables, because I've had programs where we had no chairs and tables in the room.
Okay.
But in Excel program, I would need chairs and tables. I cannot think of any other I cannot have them sit on the floor, and that would be an option because it's a room, you can have a floor seating. But for people to be comfortable, a chair and a table and laptop and charging points. So that is because I have already, when I designed the program, I've taken into consideration the participant mix. However, what I need in terms of a resource in the training room, or how and what my training room should be, comes from the design and outcome of the program.
May I ask you something, Ankita? Is
Yes.
it the program that is outcome, or is it also the attention and the assimilation that is critical?
Sir, attention and assimilation is also critical, and would that not be part of the program design?
Should be a part of the program design. Why do you think we have icebreakers and a lot of other games and activities also in between such programs?
It is to get attention back, or to draw attention in the first place.
What happens when you have multiple generations of people in the room?
They have different ways of conceptualizing information that is shared with them.
Possibly different levels of also concentrations?
Yes.
Okay. So to address that, possibly you will need something else also as a resource table. Yeah, Ravi, go ahead.
Sir, like what Ankita said, if everything could have been done at the designing plan part of the training plan, तब तो फिर layout, training material, training delivery की जरूरत ही नहीं रहती. If everything could have been planned out.
Actually होता क्या है ना रवि, नॉमिनेशन एक होता है, आते दूसरे टाइप के लोग हैं, क्या करोगे?
वही बात है सर.
होता है ना? So I'm talking about real time scenario because हम लोग prepared जाते हैं. Prepared जाना बहुत अच्छी बात है. जहाँ तक other trainers have also told and shared, prepared is very good, but preparing a plan B and a plan C is even more critical. Ankita, the reason why I brought this up, that all participants might not be at the same level. Let's say, for instance, out of the 25 participants who are attending the Excel program or this thing, let's say 4 of them have already decided to move out of the organization. And this training program is critical just as a certification for them to get into the next organization. Or it could be so also because of the different politics in the different scenarios. The participant level interest is not the same, right? Or the understanding of a participant because he or she is new in the function is not the same. Or you have got a new participant in place of somebody else as a replacement because you are an external trainer who has come in, and you have to have the minimum number of participants for the program to glow flow. And since many of them are from outstation, since your in-house participants didn't turn up, you send somebody else to attend the program. So the entire aspect of it is not that you have not planned well. The aspect of it is to understand, besides the plan or the preparation, what else can be a plan B or a plan C or a plan D.
So, sir, in this case, then I would like to apologize if I'm extending the discussion in a different direction.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
But then, for everything that you said, that I may have got a different. How does changing my layout? So my layout that I decided as part of my plan is could be a hotel room. It's a classroom set up with round tables, right? It's a round table, small groups kind of a thing. Now, in this case, if on each table on 2 of the tables, there is one person who's not interested, or there is a replacement, how does that change my setup? It doesn't, I cannot go back and change my setup. I can probably mix up the group. So my question is that I have planned for a certain kind of layout, considering what was the participant profile when I was designing for it. Does it impact my final delivery day and my layout on the day of final delivery when the program is actually being held, the class session, the Excel training is actually being conducted? So that was where I was coming from, sir. So my question is, does it really has to be a last minute change? I can make change in terms of where people are sitting. I can probably get the group who's not interested together, but getting them together has repercussions. They may distract the whole group. So rather, as to what my original plan would have been, because somewhere either I may have been informed that they're already on their way out, or
what happens? Yeah. What happens, Ankita? You have already designed the flow, you have designed the resources, you have designed the facility, you have designed everything, right? Let's say the participant size is 24, or let's say 25 for that matter of fact, and you've got a round table of 5 members each on each table.
Yes, sir.
And during the day of the program, you have only 12 members.
Okay.
Okay. It could happen in any real life scenario.
It can. It's
so, they go into a meeting or there is something critical and the training is not all that important. And since many of them have come from outstation, they want to continue with the program.
Yes.
Right? Now you would have planned that we'll have different, since you had the profile already, you will say that this is the arrangement that I want. I want a mix of experience of people from different functions. But finally, what you get is you get 8 people from finance and let's say the balance people from HR.
Got it.
Right? You got all the scenarios, everything planned. Now, since there are multiple people from different functions sitting on the same table, you expect them to come out with a certain kind of an answer while the discussion goes out. That's how your plan is, right?
So, sir, here in this scenario, if I'm, if I have to think on my feet, then probably morning, my layout of the room doesn't change. The people sitting on the tables change. So if I had 25 earlier, I had 5 on each table, then I will only put forward, you said 12, right? I will only put forward 3 tables. And then I would distribute them in a way that it has a mix of finance and HR, so that when there is a discussion, no particular table is overpowering. So that's where I'm coming from, that the overall thing might still remain the same. However,
it's not. Because if you haven't got the same kind of profiles and you have a different set of profiles.
Has everything changed? Like I would still be expecting.
You could have probably had 3 or 4 participants who are from the original list.
Just that, then I would also question the effectiveness of my program because it was designed basis something else.
But often this happens. Yeah, Ravi, please go ahead. I'll come back to that, Ankita, because we've got to address this. Yeah, Ravi.
Yes, sir. I was requesting, sir. Can we, sir, without any offense, थोड़ा सा आगे चले, sir, because people are losing interest. Me myself, I'm losing interest. 25 थे सर, 25 से 11 रह गए.
25 से देखिए, वही मैं आपको बोलना चाहता था. So what specifically happens in such kind of a scenario is that the essence of the program objective could be lost. Hence, probably you need to have a, B, an action B point, which is there. And that's where, when you basically design this, you also need to take into consideration the facilitators, skill which is there, how the facilitator or the instructor can basically redesign the program on a fly, effective in terms of a delivery when it comes to not the promised size, but the other size of the program also that needs to be delivered. Let's say if you have a different audience, how does the interaction takes place? How, while developing this agenda, he has a last minute discussion and then he can correlate to the entire. So when we have a training flow or a program flow, we don't have all the content which is there on the slide. You have something which is called the facilitator note. And a facilitator note comes with the plan A, plan B, plan C also. If you would have seen very strong facilitators, they have a plan A, plan B, plan C, depending upon the years of experience. Now, the creating the engagement of the presentation and the content of the presentation, you draw from the concept to the specifics that's there. And then there is a balancing theory between practical and exercises, depending upon the target audience shift or the program audience shift. And all of it could also lead to something which is there on the form of, the kind of engagements, debates, the role plays and other things that you would have initially thought about and how you want to carry it out. And then assessing how the program is progressing and depending upon that, doing slight bit of modification. So in between the program, you would have noticed that I had taken off the slide, from the projection. And then what I was doing is I was doing a couple of changes based upon how the audience is responding. Why I was doing that? Because that enables the program flow to be in continuum. Now, moving forward, different modes of training delivery is there. Like you could have a classroom, virtual, blended, mobile learning, so on and so forth. All those different modes are there. But each mode of delivery needs to understand what kind of knowledge bite can be delivered to the participants. And when I say knowledge bite, the knowledge bite is for a person not to take it as just information, for the person to take it as information, process it, which is assimilate, understand, comprehend, apply, come back and say, okay, I've got a list of things that I'm going to apply at work. These things can work. And this is where, if you are, a person who thinks from the point of view or step into the shoe of the participant, you conclude that this much is enough. We don't have to go very far-fetched for a person to comprehend and understand. So here again, in different modes of training, what are the other things that you will take into consideration when it comes to classroom training? Let's say for the participants, what are the other things that you'll take into consideration?
So sorry, can you please repeat the last part, the question that you asked?
Last part is, if you have an effective training program to take place and you want the participants to learn, assimilate, and let's say, as per the Bloom's taxonomy, apply this also at work, what would be the elements that you will take into consideration when you do a classroom training, a virtual training, a blended training, and a mobile learning?
So first and foremost, the comfort level of the participants.
Okay.
They should be comfortable. And the second aspect is to give them adequate breaks, because a classroom training would have more engagement. Virtual training could be an engaging one as well as just an instruction platform. Blended learning, again, there is information being processed. So being able to give them time to be able to process the information that they're taking.
Let's ask ourselves the motivational element for a person to be involved in the delivery, comprehension, and then assimilating and putting it at work.
Sir, in terms of what I've experienced, because I'm basically from training delivery part of the L&D.
Okay.
So what I have understood that virtual training sessions are much more difficult or challenging in terms of capturing the engagement of the participant. Because in the classroom training, we can see the participant, we can see their comfort level or whatever, some points Ankita also have touched. So bio breaks or whatever, but in virtual training, that might not be the case. So it is very, dependent on the trainer also. It is a trainer-led instruction learning. Then it is very important that the trainer is self-motivated enough to keep them engaged.
Okay.
So this is one of the vital factors that virtual training could have indifferent as compared to classroom trainings. Like self-learning, like e-mobiles, basically e-modules that we have. So e-modules, we need to keep them very short. So that might be the differences. It has to be bit sized, or like daily base पे consume करने वाला 5 मिनट का 10 मिनट का, these kind of we have to break it up in very various parameters. So इस तरह के जो like differences हैं सर, जो अभी आप कह रहे हैं सर, these are the different. तो इस taxonomy में जो content है या फिर जो delivery style है ना सर, चाहे वो ट्रेनर लेड हो चाहे वो विदाउट ट्रेनर हो, सो ये भी बहुत चेंज करता है पार्टिसिपेंट का जो एंगेजमेंट है, बिकॉज मोबाइल लर्निंग में द पार्टिसिपेंट कैन बी सिटिंग एट होम, सो वहाँ पर प्रेजेंटेशन का, टाइमिंग का, these things are also of great importance. Logistics, these things are also important. And in case of like virtual learning itself, तो बंदे के पास if they are having a smartphone, obviously nowadays everybody is a smartphone. अब स्मार्टफोन भी कौन सा है, एंड्रॉइड है, क्या है, ब्लूटूथ कनेक्ट हो रहा नहीं हो रहा है. So these are the certain limitations or resources which we need to plan ahead before delivering these kind of sessions.
Okay. How many of you agree the fact the motive of the participants has to be understood?
Very much, sir. I agree. Totally.
How many of you also understand what is a
I do, sir.
Agree. What is the motivational factor of the participant to be in the training?
Matters a lot, sir.
Okay. How many of you have studied what is in it for them to attend your training program?
Connectivity is the utmost important part.
Okay. Let me ask you this further question. I've been nominated for a program, but I do not know why. How many of us go and clear the why? Or have understood their why?
So being a trainer, I have did it, but I cannot vouch for others. But yeah, being a trainer, I have did it.
Acha. Ek aur baat. Multiple generations of people in the same room, different learning styles, different people's behavior with regards to learning. Does that all affect the content delivery?
Yes, sir.
अरे बहुत सर, बहुत totally.
Right. Now, when you have this diverse audience and you are a trainer, my question to all of you is just go back and think, while you're doing these programs, what checklist would you do if you had to step into the shoe of somebody else to go through the program that you have designed? हमें अपनी बनाई हुई कोई भी चीज कोई अगर खराब बोले तो पसंद नहीं आती, because constructive feedback is the most difficult thing to take.
I believe that criticism, we do not take it very positively.
Absolutely. So I have a humble request to all of us who are from this training fraternity. I know we put in a lot of effort to design things. I know there's a lot of emotion involved, a lot of energy involved, lot of this thing. But why this topic that we are touching upon today? What is the reason why we have this topic covered, which is a part of module 8? And the heading of the topic, which is there, basically tells you why this is very critical. Resource planning. Everything that has got in preparation has to be planned in a manner in which, so it doesn't say that you have one training objective, one delivery mechanism, all will work well for you. It says that be prepared for the uncertain. And Ankita, to answer the question in brief, several places, training is conducted also as a ritual. At several places, it is done with an objective. At several places, there is no objective. So it is still an evolving space which is there. In this evolving space, the first thing that I would request all my fellow trainers to do is be agile, be aware of all the environmental areas, and be prepared to match any requirement that comes in your way. And once we get into this profession of preparing and going in for delivery, uncertainty could happen at any moment in time. And hence, have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D to go with. Any further questions that you would like to ask me before we conclude today's session? The slides, I will send it across to Gurvinder. Any questions?
No questions.
Yeah, please.
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Ankita. Ravi, Ramesh, Ishan, Wafi, Preeti, Joe, Prince, Sriram.
All good, sir.
All good. Has it been useful so far?
All good, sir.
Yes, sir. So
Definitely, sir.
Yes, sir.
So there's one thing I would like to just ask. It came top of my mind just now.
Sure, please.
Sir, that we are talking about resources here. So while we are talking resources, and the multiple times we have used the word resources, there's a cost to it. So in case if we are planning or we are having to plan to have a contingency plan like A, B, C, or say, तो उसके लिए भी कुछ ना कुछ costing involved रहती है sir. So if in case
सबके लिए
I
रहता
approach,
है,
so
सबके
if
लिए
in
रहता
case I, yes sir, if in case I approach with to my management for a funding or stating that this will be the, like these are things that I'll be needing for the funds to do in case if this thing happens. So, sir, इसका like response आता नहीं है generally अगर मैं कहूँ तो
मैं आपको
what I have
बता
learned-
दूं,
जी जी
अगले सेशन में मैं आपके लिए क्या कवर करने वाला हूँ ये भी बोल देता हूँ.
okay
Now
sir
we have planned all the resources, which is this as per plan A. We will be looking at the factors that would affect your training program or the flow of the program, and what should you do as a contingency B plan or a C or a D. ये ब्रीफिंग जब आप एक ट्रेनिंग बजट डालते हैं या प्लानिंग करते हैं तो उसी समय ये मैनेजमेंट के पास जाना चाहिए,
right sir
right? So you should have that contingency B because of the fact that you're predicting something that might not happen, right? It's like forecasting.
great sir
So you'll have a variance component incorporated in the forecast, correct?
yes sir
And you'll have certain assumptions also drawn to that forecast, correct?
yes sir. And there's a miscellaneous expense to everything. Like in every list, we have an miscellaneous expenses. We
Right.
can put it over there also.
So, may I request all of you to, if possible, just to keep your videos on, just for a moment. Out of the 36,000 sessions that I've done till date, I've noticed 28,000 sessions going off plan. I'm saying 28,000 sessions going off plan, not one or two. 28,000 का आप मतलब समझते हैं कि 18,000 अगर जा रहे हैं, so we should understand the area of influence and the area of concern. The area of influence is what we can influence and manage. The area of concern is the other area which is there, which is way beyond our control. So please don't just have a plan A. Also have a plan B and a plan C to move forward. And your contingency plan, like you mentioned, Ravi and Ankita, it should be incorporated in your design or in your budget or in your forecast when you do these programs. If A fails, what? Let's say 25 people planned as participant in a continuous development program, and one day you have had only 10 participants, okay? And they don't turn up, but these participants have a cost associated with that. Then you have to find out the next additional day to deliver this program. So that becomes a part of it, right? And this is a difficult area, just like other functions also. Don't take it to heart. But the fact is the aspect of objective of the program needs to be covered. Right? So just have that focus, right? Thank you so much. Wish you all a wonderful good evening. I'll send you the content across. You'll get it from Gurvinder.
No problem, sir. Thanks for your insights, sir.
Most welcome.
Thanks for the wonderful discussion, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful evening.
Same to you, sir.